Hi, welcome to Community Viewpoint. I'm your host tonight, Maria Hurst. John is out tonight, but he will be watching, so we better be good. So everybody say hi, John. Anyway, I just want to remind somebody before I introduce my special guest. I want to just remind everyone, if you call the station at 727-9400, you can still get these instruction cards, and they're two-sided, and they will tell you how you can convert from, if you have satellite and you're unable to get our channel, how you can hook your TV up so that you can watch our channel on the analog 41 channel. And you can still get our digital channels with your digital box. But this is still good because we're still getting analog TV. So if you have satellite and you want to watch our channel and you want to go back and forth, then you can get one of these cards. Call 727-9400 and you can still get it. Or you can call if you have one of the satellite stations, or one of the satellite services, sorry. It's been a long day. If you have one of the satellite services, you can get a special box from Dish. You can call them, and you can call 727-9400 and find more about that. You can talk to anyone who answers, and they'll tell you all about it. So anyway, that was my little spiel for the night, so you can tell your friends and family. If they are just dying to see this show, this is how you can do it. Well, welcome. Tonight we have Allison Mack, and she is from the Ash Meadows National Wildlife Refuge.
Yes.
So welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good.
And I already said your name, but and we'll have your contact information up on the screen pretty soon. But you're from the Ash Meadows National Wildlife Refuge. Now, Refuge. I'm sorry. Gosh.
We don't have any
refugees.
I told you. Coming over.
Just the rare, we were just talking before we went on air about the rare wildlife that's in the pools, and so perhaps they're the refugees you have, since I have had a long day and can't properly pronounce my English. Anyway, let's talk about the place, Ash Meadows. What is it and where is it? Let's talk about that.
Well, it's a national wildlife refuge, which it's managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And we're located in Amargosa Valley, Nevada, which is just about 45 minutes. If you, from Pahrump, go down Bella Vista Road, we're right along that road. And it's, like I said, it's a national wildlife refuge, and the reason it's called that, wildlife refuge, is because we're basically there to protect wildlife. Within our refuge, we have at least 26 plants and animals that don't exist anywhere else in the world. And those are really the species that we find to be very special. They're very biologically important, and so we're working hard to protect them.
That's awesome. Now, we had a picture, in the picture actually that's right behind us. Which pool is that?
I believe that's Crystal Spring, which is located right by our visitor center. It's a really beautiful, we have a boardwalk that leads right to it. It's a really beautiful walk.
You have several boardwalks. Let's talk about this one here.
Yeah, this boardwalk, I believe it was constructed in 2000. It's been there for a while. And it goes right along the Crystal Stream, and it's a portion of the stream that's been restored. Back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, a lot of Ash Meadows was converted to agricultural fields, and the streams were diverted into cement channels. And so it was really, a lot of the landscape was altered and destroyed. And so for this segment of the stream, we've restored it back to what we hope it was like originally, what it was like naturally, because that's better conditions for the wildlife that lives there. We have a little fish, only about 1.5 inches long, called the Ash Meadows Amargosa pupfish that lives in this spring and stream, and we're trying to protect that fish.
That's not the fish that there's only very few of. There's several different kinds of pupfish, isn't there?
Yeah, there are. There's within our refuge we have 3 different pupfish. The Ash Meadows Amargosa pupfish that I just told you about is pretty common, but it is restricted just to our refuge. It doesn't exist outside of the boundaries of our refuge. But I think the pupfish you're thinking of is the Devil's Hole pupfish,
right?
Which last count was about 140 fish, I believe, total in the world. And they're all restricted to one tiny pool. It's a cavern in the side of a mountain. We don't even know how deep it goes. It's called Devil's Hole. So.
Okay, and that actually is managed by another organization.
Right, Death Valley National Park manages that, although it is located within our refuge. So we have this partnership going on with them.
That's awesome, and there's so many. What we were talking about earlier, we were kind of joking, like we were swimming in the stream because we're sitting in front of it, but that's actually illegal because it can endanger some of that wildlife, right?
That's right, yeah. A lot of people in the area remember, and they tell me stories about when they used to go swimming in these pools. And if you look at it, it's very beautiful, so you can understand why people would have enjoyed to do that. And still today, a lot of people want to do that. But it is true that these these habitats, these pools, are so fragile. There's algae that grows in them that the pupfish eat, and that's their main food source, the algae, and some little tiny invertebrates or insects that live in the water as well. And so if lots of people are swimming in there and even just stepping in it, it can disturb that algae and scrape it off of the bottom of the pool, and then there's no place for the fish to hide. That's where they breed, lay their eggs, and that's what they eat. So even just one person or a few people getting in those pools, over time it really wears it down, and that's what we want to just protect it so that everyone can enjoy it, future generations.
And a lot of the like soaps and things on clothing and stuff, can't that alter,
that's
chemically
a good point.
alter?
Yeah, there's always things that could affect it. We're still doing a lot of research because there's so much we still have to learn about how these pupfish survive in these ecosystems. So.
In the middle of the desert, it's amazing. I wanted to ask you a lot about that because I want people to understand that this is a very beautiful place. It's amazing that this exists. I was amazed. It's amazing that this exists in the middle of the desert. And you were saying before that this is kind of like the Galapagos of the desert.
Well, it's kind of a hot spot for biodiversity. As I said before, we have at least 26 plants and animals that are only found in this one little area. The refuge is about a little over 23,000 acres. But in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot of land.
No, it's not.
And all of these plants and animals are restricted, for the most part, to small springs and streams within the refuge. And these are organisms that you wouldn't be able to see anywhere else. So it's kind of like on the Galapagos Islands, where you have, the desert, the Galapagos tortoises that are only on the islands and they can't go anywhere. Well, our pupfish can't go anywhere else. They're stuck in the desert too, so we have to protect them.
So it's really important. Please go visit, but it's really, really important that nobody damage these little habitats. I almost said ecosystems too, but these little habitats, and just keep them safe. And then you're able to say that you live in a place that's next to this. A couple of places. There's places in Shoshone and Tacopa that have things that nobody else can find anywhere else in the world. So if you're looking to go somewhere local that is an amazing place, these are some places, and that's why we like to cover these places a lot, because it's amazing that we live, there's Vegas, and there's, which is great too. There's Vegas, there's, California, everything's close. But these are places that you can't find anywhere else in the world, and just amazing biology, amazing plants and animals. What's a little bit of the history of Ash Meadows?
Well, Ash Meadows it's pretty recent that it became a refuge. It was actually established in 1984.
That is recent. So
it hasn't been around for long. The history goes back to Devil's Hole, however, which was declared a national monument in, I believe, 1952 under President Harry Truman. They recognized, even at that early time, which is pretty incredible for the time period, they recognized that the Devil's Hole pupfish was a biologically significant organism and that it should be protected for future generations and for the American people to enjoy. So they made Devil's Hole a national monument. And at the time, the rest of the area surrounding it, what is now Ash Meadows, was privately owned, and it was being used for cattle, for raising alfalfa and cotton and other things like that. And they had a lot of wells that they had dug around Devil's Hole and in the surrounding desert. After a while, though, some people started noticing that the water level in Devil's Hole was starting to drop. And it at one point dropped so low that the rock shelf that the fish breed on and live on exclusively, was exposed. It was above water.
I knew you were going to say that. I was like,
and,
oh no.
And so, of course, this created an outcry, and
Right.
it brought a lot of media attention. And there was a big battle. And
With
it
the
was
landowner, of
landowners versus the people. There was like the pupfish supporters and the pupfish people who didn't care about the pupfish. And eventually, it did go to Supreme Court, and it was ruled that the water rights should be used in favor of protecting the pupfish. That the water the water level needed to be maintained in order to save this species. So the people who were pumping couldn't, allow that to happen. They had to stop their pumping to maintain the water at a certain level. At that point, it didn't really make their ranching and agricultural operation economically feasible.
Right.
So they sold it, and eventually the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service acquired the land.
Okay.
And in the meantime, there's a lot more details to that.
Right.
That's a very brief
But
history.
that's the gist of it.
That's the gist of it. And
That's
and we've
amazing.
since discovered that not only is Devil's Hole unique, but there's a lot more out there too. And still,
Right,
we're
that you can't
discovering new
find anywhere
species
else in the
today.
world.
Just a couple months ago, we discovered 2 new bee species on the refuge that had never been known to science. So there's still a lot more out there that
So
we're
there's
discovering.
a lot of work. Now,
Yeah.
what is your title there?
Right now, I'm the environmental education and outreach specialist.
Nice.
So I do all the fun stuff, what I think is the fun stuff, leading events and getting the public excited about Ash Meadows and interacting.
I'm going to ask you a little bit of personal question. What got you interested in this kind of work?
Well, actually, I'm not from the desert, Southwest. I grew up in Maine, completely different place, about as opposite from the Southwest.
It's a long way away.
Yeah. And I think since I was a child, I was always outside, and I just loved nature. And throughout the course of my life, I studied biology and just been more and more interested in it. And now I kind of took a turn in the direction of working with kids and with people, and I just love sharing my passion with them. So
That's awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
So we can see some kids grow up to do what you do.
Exactly.
That's
I hope
awesome. Let's talk about how much time do we have? Let's see.
So. 10 minutes?
Oh, good. So we have a lot of time. So let's talk about a couple of the different boardwalks. There's a new one.
Yeah, the Point of Rocks boardwalk. Well, the boardwalk itself has been there for a while, but just when was it? The day before Halloween, October 30th, we had a big grand opening because we just finished it's still kind of in the works, but we celebrated the interpretive work that's all along the boardwalk now. So you can go, and there's beautiful carvings and artwork and explanations of the history and the stories and some of the wildlife that you might see along the boardwalk. So as visitors walk, they can kind of read and learn about what they're seeing.
Okay. Do you have a lot of children, a lot of schools that do field trips out there?
Actually, yes, and that's a good thing to talk about, because this spring, for the past 4 years, we've been having 3rd grade field trips. We call it Adventures, Adventures. And so 3rd graders from local schools come out with their schools and do programs with us, and we're going to be doing that again this spring, starting in April.
Okay,
So,
that's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Cool. And you have some other things coming up that are going to be not just for kids, but for adults too. And in the past, they've been for kids, but now everybody can participate.
Right.
So let's talk about the stewardship one first.
Yeah, well, we have, it's been almost every month we have special events called Stewardship Saturdays, and it's just an opportunity for people to come and volunteer to improve our public lands, because really the refuge, it's a public land, which means it's for everybody to enjoy and to share in. And so we have opportunities. The next one coming up is December 4th, where you can come and help us cut the cattails in Crystal Stream. The reason we do that is because the cattails grow and they become so thick and dense that they slow the water down. And then the pupfish don't really like they like to have the swifter moving streams. And we also have invasive crayfish that live in there. And they really thrive when there's a lot of cattails. And the crayfish in turn eat the pupfish.
Okay,
the eggs,
so we don't want that.
They compete, and so by cutting the cattails, we can help that situation.
Okay.
So we have volunteers come out, and it's a lot of fun because it's one of your few chances to get in the water. It's warm. It's about 89 degrees Fahrenheit all year round. It's really warm. And so you get to get in there and cut the cattails, and it's just a lot of fun. And then you also know that you're helping, improve habitat for an endangered species. So it's a pretty good thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, since they're getting in there, is there something that they need to find out before they can go do this activity? Like call special clothing or special anything that they need to know about, sign up ahead of time?
Yeah, you'll want to sign up ahead of time, and you can do that one of two ways. You can either register online at www.getoutdoorsnevada.org, or you can call the refuge office, and the number's on the screen.
Cool.
So
That sounds like a great opportunity, and it looks like there's one every month.
yeah, we try to have one about every month. Usually in the summer we don't, because it gets a little bit hot.
yeah.
But
120
almost
degrees.
pretty regularly we have something going on. We also do native plantings along some of our stream channels that we've restored. The banks are still bare. They don't have any plants on them. And that's not really good for animals and wildlife and for the water itself, because the soil can just fall in, erode, and
Right.
So having plants there is really helpful. So we have volunteers that come out and help us plant. And
Nice.
again, it's a lot of fun. We've been having kids from the Death Valley Academy pretty regularly come out, and so I just wanted to say thank you to them, because they're always there, even on a Saturday
Nice.
morning. It's teenagers on a Saturday morning. That's quite something. So.
That is, for sure.
Yep.
That's awesome. So if you want to participate in that, call and sign up for that, or go to the website. There's another one that's coming up too, and that is actually a one-day, kind of like a workshop type thing?
Kind of, yeah. It's just a chance for you to come out and have some fun with your family, or bring a friend along. It's called Let's Explore Time Travelers. And this one, it's going to be held at the Long Street Boardwalk, which is in our refuge. And it's on Saturday, December 11th. And it's anytime. You can come anytime between 10 to 3. It's completely free, and we just want people to come out. We're going to be having people dressed up in character from back in the 1900s. So you'll get to actually interact and meet with people who lived in the area back in historical times,
Nice.
and kind of see what their life was like during that time period.
That's awesome. Is that, so anytime from 10 to 3, so is there going to be activities at 10, 11, 12, 1, or is it going to be kind of open house style, sort of?
It's going to be, open house style.
Okay.
We're going to actually have Jack Longstreet character portrayed by a local actor, Frank King.
Okay.
And he's going to be in the cabin telling
Nice.
stories. And so, yeah, people can just come anytime they want. You can bring a lunch. We have a picnic area, and they can just kind of walk around at their leisure. And there'll be lots of ongoing activities and things to pique your interest, whatever your interests are.
One of the activities you mentioned was pancakes.
That's right, yeah. We're going to be demonstrating one of the traditional native wild foods, which is mesquite trees. The pods are edible, they've been eaten by Native Americans for ages, and also a lot of wildlife eat them. Coyotes love them. And people still today will eat the pods. So we'll be demonstrating how you can grind them, and then you can even make your own little mesquite pancake and taste it and see what you think.
Nice.
Maybe you'll like that more than blueberry pancakes.
That's cool. That's awesome. So the first event is December 4th, and that is just this Saturday. So you want to get signed up for that very quickly. And the number's on the screen. It's 775-372-5435. And you can also email Allison if you have any other questions, want to find out about volunteering. Is there anything else people can do to help? I know I really like to get the word out on the different activities and things for people to do, but also if is there any like private organizations that help or donate or sponsor, or is it all like federal dollars? Or
I'm not quite sure what you mean. Donate to
like the actual, like the workshops, like who pays for the
I
the
see.
workshops?
Actually, most of the people that are that have been helping out with our events are volunteers. Like Frank King, he's
That's
a local actor, really great. He's in one of the local theater clubs in Tacopa.
Okay.
And so yeah, we just have a lot of passionate people in the community that pitch in and care about giving back to the community, especially since a lot of these events are for kids in the community. So we've had the Pahrump 4-H Club come out routinely. We've had kids from the Amargosa Valley School and from Pahrump schools as well. So
if people want to help, if they're unable to volunteer, is there another way they can help, like supplies or something that you might need?
Certainly, yeah. We can always use volunteers, or whether it's your skills and your time, or just monetary or in-kind donations, things like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Everything helps, because right now our education programs are poorly funded.
Right.
So yeah, we're always looking for ways to keep that running.
Okay. I know there's a lot of people out that maybe aren't able to get out there. I mean, if you can donate your time, that's a great way, because these are great programs.
And transportation. I think that's the biggest thing that inhibits people from coming out to some of the events, is that they just don't have a ride. So, maybe people could, mention or arrange carpooling situations to bring kids or groups out.
That's a fantastic
like that.
idea. That's fantastic. I know that transportation is an issue in every avenue, from social services to events, because we don't have any public transportation. We do have a taxi service, which we're very thankful to have.
And we're really far away.
But
it is, 45 minutes is a long drive. So
yeah, it is. So that's a great idea. That's a great idea. How much time do we have now? A couple more minutes?
Probably 5.
5 minutes. Wow, we're fast. Okay, so I want to kind of go back to some of the things that are in Ash Meadows and things that we can't find anywhere else. Like, let's talk about some of the wildlife that's there. Besides, there's the Devil's Hole pupfish, which there's very, very few in the whole world. I know at one point, John was telling me a year or two ago that they were like in real danger of being extinct, like really, really in danger.
They're always kind of on the brink, because there's so few. One thing happens and that's it. It's always, they're very fragile because they're so few. When there's an animal that there's thousands and thousands of, then they can recuperate from problems or tragedies, things like that come up. But when there's so few, it's more tricky. So.
And they're not, the pupfish from any of these streams or pools, any of them, are those species that can be maybe taken out of their habitat, regrown in a controlled setting and put back, or do they need to remain in those pools and streams?
Well, always with that kind of an effort, the goal is always to keep them in their native and natural habitat. So it's kind of, it's an extreme measure to take an animal out and raise it and try to increase the population artificially, because there's a lot of work that goes into that. But scientists actually right now are trying to do that with the pupfish. They have a refugium that they're building, and they're trying to do just what you were explaining, trying to see if they can increase the numbers of the pupfish so that they have some to fall back on in case
Right.
the ones that are in the hole can't make it for whatever reason.
Because anything,
But I
like a
believe-
storm or anything. Right?
Exactly, and actually that brings up a good point that it can be just things that we don't understand, random events. There's been several earthquakes lately. Well, you know, the big earthquake in Haiti. There was an earthquake, I believe, in April 4th in Baja California. And then just recently, just a few weeks ago, there was another earthquake in Baja California. And these are earthquakes that happened far, far away from us. We couldn't feel any tremors here. But the amazing thing is that in Devil's Hole, the water levels were affected by those earthquakes. And we're not talking just a little wave. 7-foot difference. Huge. Wow. It was like a mini tsunami where the water just shot up suddenly and it just went crazy. And
we don't know how deep that hole is.
Right.
So that could be the way to China right there. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but I mean,
right.
Really, like that could be, if it's affected by something in Haiti, that could be, I mean, I'm just using that old saying, but that could be, I mean, there could be, it could move quite deep if it's affected by something deep, that far across the earth.
It's likely that what's happening is underground, it's bedrock, and they've got minute, tiny little cracks and fissures, and so even if the water itself isn't, it's definitely not connected all the way to.
But could it be like a domino effect?
For example. But it's like a domino effect,
okay.
Exactly. When there's a tremor in the rock itself,
right.
It affects everything, and then eventually it affects the water, even though the water itself is not connected.
Right. I'm just meaning, but
so
like
it is
somewhere it's getting there.
Right. Those vibrations are affecting the water within the rock underground, and then it's like a piston because it's under such pressure that it shoots up that water. And the last earthquake affected Devil's Hole by so much with the turbulence in the water that it scraped off about 70% of the algae on the shelf.
Oh,
so
no.
That's another thing we'll have to keep you posted on what
And
happens.
that's recent?
That's very recent. We have 1
Okay.
minute. I said.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's helping me keep time. I'm just amazed at this. Like I'm thinking, and like at the beginning of the show, we're talking about we don't know how far that hole goes down, and then whether the hole obviously doesn't go all the way through, but like you said with the rock, with everything being connected, it's just crazy. So we have to close out now. We're out of time. So Allison, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
I learned a lot today, and I hope everybody else did, and I hope everybody joins you at the 2 events you have coming up. Let's Explore Time Travelers. It's Saturday, December 11th. Oh, that's the stewardship. The next one is December 4th. So to call you at the number that was on the bottom of the screen, the 372-5435, area code 775. And we look forward to having you on again, and we'll get an update next time.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.